Ayman Khan, Seconds Out with Frank Smith in Liverpool. Frank, I've heard that you've been giving a speech to uni students. How was that? Were you good under pressure there?
Yeah, I don't think I was good for the university because I basically said, don't worry about your results, they don't define you. And I think I said that a couple of times and they were sort of looking at me like, no, worry about your results. So I'll take that back, worry about your results. I'm trying to say, like, I got a D in business studies at school and I'm doing all right in business now. So, that's all I was trying to say. But it was good fun. It was good to go down there. I had about 80, 90 students in there, all different sports journalism, sports business. They got a big weight loss management, sort of elite athlete weight loss team down there. Was with Peter McGraw as well, and Dr. Carl. So it was it was good little trip.
I went uni. I'm behind the mic. You didn't go uni. You're in front of the mic. Some sort of lesson there?
No, like I say, I just think it doesn't define you, does it? You can have all the grades in the world. We have hundreds of people come in with CVs. Barely look at CVs anymore. It's about personalities. It's about actually hard work. For me, that's what it comes back to. If you can work hard and you deliver, that's the key. Like me, I had limited GCSEs. I was very good at making tea and coffee, and then sort of worked my way from there.
As the comments have highlighted already when we see Frank Smith interview. But Frank, talking about working hard to keep this card going here, considering the dropout's not anyone's fault there, but talk me through the card this weekend in Liverpool.
Yeah, no, look, obviously the key always for us is to make sure we can keep the shows going forward. You got 20 fighters on this card, or 18 fighters who have worked hard for 5, 6, 7 weeks, and if they don't fight, they don't get paid. So we do have to say a big thank you to DAZN as well, because without their support it wouldn't be possible. They're always working with us to make sure we can keep the shows up and running. Did the same when Wood Lara got cancelled originally back in September. So that was the focus for us, make sure fighters got the opportunity still. Obviously headline with both Diego Pacheco's first UK fight against Jack Cullen, which is a great fight. It's a step up fight for Diego Pacheco as well, but he's a great talented young man. Robbie Davies Jr. against Foley. Unfortunate that the Liam Parrow fight withdrew as well, but it's one of those things. I think Foley's it's been an entertaining build up in the week or so we've had. And I think we're going to be in for a good fight there. Peter McGraw's debut since he signed back with us. So excited for Peter McGraw. He's got a huge future ahead of him, and this is exciting to see the start. His 6th or 7th fight this weekend. Big Johnny Fisher over there, big ticket seller as always. Rhiannon Dixon's first title shot as well. You got Paddy Lacey, you got Akeem Fiaz, you got Campbell Hatton on the card. So stacked card from top to bottom, and as I say, the key focus for us was to make sure we could keep this fight up and running, and this fight card and show up and running.
From a financial point of view, can you tell me, do you end up losing money on these cards? Do you make your money back on these cards? What's the situation there for Matchroom? Because the bottom line will be the numbers on that front.
No, look, not ideal as a business when things like this happen, but at the same time it's the business we're in, and we've got a lot of commitments to fighters, and we have to ensure that we can deliver for them. So we're not sitting there when this happens going, oh great, it's not ideal, but we make sure that the event can keep up and running. As I say, big thank you to DAZN as well, because without them, without their support and backing, it would be very difficult. And a lot of broadcasters in their position say, no, pull the plug on that. It's not the show we wanted. Pull the plug on it. But we've got some great talent on here, and like I say, important we kept it up and running. And for us as a business, it is the business we're in. It happens, and you get used to it after a while.
Frank, as a customer will look at DAZN and the schedule and Eddie's promises of the DAZN schedule. They look at the previous Liverpool card. Again, not your fault that you had pullouts there, but how does it compare to the previous Liverpool card, which was promoted as a staple weekly non-pay-per-view type of card you'd expect to see on DAZN?
Yeah, look, that was a great show when we did, you're talking about Anthony Fowler against Liam Smith. Yeah, great show. But, we were going to have Callum Smith, who's, mandatory for the WBC world title, former 168 world champion, headlining this week. It didn't happen. We were going to have Liam Parrow taking on Robbie Davies Jr. Liam Parrow also very highly ranked with the WBO. That was a great fight. It's unfortunate. But we're working on a big, a huge schedule for April and May as well. You've obviously got a Next Gen show coming up next weekend. You've got AJ on April 1st. April 8th, we're in San Antonio with Jesse Rodriguez, Akhmadaliev against Tapales. April 22nd, we're in Cardiff with an unbelievable show, I think, with Cordina's second attempt to become a 2-time world champion. So got that, and then some big nights lined up for May and June as well, which we're just getting to the bottom of now, all the details. So, I think you're going to have an exciting schedule, and we're pushing hard to make sure we deliver for the subscribers.
Seems like Callum Smith steps straight into that fight with Artur Beterbiev then.
Yeah, I think he's got obviously recover from the injury, but I think with the time frames, obviously Artur Beterbiev with Ramadan as well, and the period of time he's going to be out for, it's more likely that fight falls into sort of the summer months anyway. So I think Callum will be ready and back up and running for that. Yeah.
Moving on to a hot button topic in boxing right now, which is Conor Benn's situation to clear his name. He stepped onto Piers Morgan's show. I wonder what you make of the reception from that interview, given Conor Benn's performance on the show.
Yeah, I've been travelling a lot, so I haven't actually watched the whole thing. I've seen a lot of snippets of the conversation. I think one thing with Conor Benn, and I've said it numerous occasions now, none of us can quite understand what this 25, 26-year-old man's been through. None of us, I hope none of us ever have to deal with anything quite like it in any walk of life. The pressure that's been on his shoulders, and he spoke openly about it from, parts I've seen, and not everyone's happy with things he said in that interview. I think you have to understand what he's been through as well. At the same time, you have to take that into account. The reality is not everyone's going to be not happy, but everyone's going to have a predetermined view as well of what's gone on, situation, the way he's dealt with it, etc. Having spent a lot of time around Conor Benn, it's been a hard period for him. And he's been through, again, like I say, something that I hope no one else ever has to go through in the public eye. So, people will have their view, and everyone has the right to have their view. And people will continue to, regardless of what goes on, whether people accept that he has been cleared, which he has, people are always going to have a predetermined view now, a certain group of people, and they believe something else. So, it's hard to change everyone's mindset, is the reality.
The crux of that interview always kind of flipped back to if Conor Benn wants to strengthen his claim for being innocent in this case, he should release that document, that 270-page document. Do you feel it's likely that will be released and that will kind of strengthen his claim?
But the thing I'll be open, he's been cleared by the party who undertook the testing, by experts within their field who have come to a conclusion. Not me, not you. I can't. I've read a lot of it. I can't understand a lot of it. It's not my world. It's not your world. 99% of people would read it, and it wouldn't be something they understand because it's not what it's not what they do. So specialists within this field have decided to clear him. This is WBC have brought in their own independent specialists have decided to clear him. So he has cleared himself. There's a lot of other legal stuff that he's been speaking about with the board, etc., going on in the background at the same time. So it's not just a case of releasing documentation that's been shared to get to this point, because there's other things. There'll be other things about what happened in the lab, etc., that will be continued discussions around these testing regimes, etc. So as easy as it would be to go there you go. No one would really understand it, because it's not what we do. Unless there's doping experts out there who may understand it, the majority of people won't. And I think we have to point back to the point he has been cleared. By the party who undertook the testing, and that really is where it sits.
In terms of getting his licence back with the British Boxing Board of Control, he'll have to release it to them to try and clear his name with them. I wonder, part of the interview, Conor Benn stated that he feels like the British Boxing Board of Control have it in for him, and that's why he won't. Part of his pride is a reason as to why he won't release that document. Can you shed any light on as to why he feels there's a vendetta against him by the British Boxing Board of Control?
I think the way the British Boxing Board of Control dealt with things. They have their own answers, they have their own things that they need to answer questions for. You got to remember, away from this, they fined him on misdemeanor charges without really actually going through any sort of process. So they said, no, we're going to fine you X amount of money. That's not really the right process to go. He has, because of what happened there, he has a preset view of they've got it in for me regardless of actually going through the process that I need to. He's ultimately been cleared, but the British Boxing Board of Control decided to fine him without really giving him the due time to go through everything. So that's already in his mind. He has something, rightly or wrongly, with the British Boxing Board of Control, and he doesn't feel like he's going to get a fair chance. There'll be. I know he's spoken about his legal position with the British Boxing Board of Control. So we have to see. We have to see how that plays out as well at the same time. But I think the first thing we have to focus on, he's been cleared by the party who put the testing together. He passed every British Boxing Board of Control test. The British Boxing Board of Control have never taken other people's tests and looked into them outside of the UCAD testing. So,
Frank, have you at any point ever doubted his innocence? And since Conor Benn has come out and fed bits of information out there as he can do, have you ever doubted his innocence at all?
Look, I have a different relationship with Conor Benn where I've known him since he was 18 years old. I've been away with him. I've spent time around him. And we've had him in our office, literally in tears, day in, day out during all this. As a person, I'm completely behind Conor Benn, and I believe, he's telling the truth. The one thing you got to understand as well with this whole thing is he could have just gone off and kept fighting somewhere else, and not dealt with this. Is the truth? He decided to go out, spend his own money, bring in his own team to clear his name. There were a lot of things he could have done which would have been much easier. But he decided, no, I haven't done this, and I'm going to do it the right way. He hasn't fought for nearly a year, since back in April. It's been 5-6 months since the fight was supposed to take place. So he decided to do a lot of things where he could have made other decisions which would have been easier. He said, no, I haven't done this, and I'm going to clear my name. And that was always his focus. And having spent a lot of time around him and with him, I believe Conor Benn. Because after I know what he is as a person, I know his personality, and but you can't. Someone who doesn't know him can't understand that, because they haven't been around him, they haven't seen other areas of his life, they haven't seen, So I know what Conor Benn is as a person, because I've been around him for a long time.
Looking back to your previous answer regarding those misconduct and not having the opportunity to kind of present himself on that, there's 7, I believe, misdemeanor charges from the British Boxing Board of Control. Can you shed any light as to what they are, and also were Matchroom kind of brought under any misconduct charges at all? No,
look, I wasn't involved in his legal. It's been very much dealt with by Conor Benn and his legal team separately himself. No, we haven't been brought under any sort of discussions with the British Boxing Board of Control. But I wasn't there when he had this thing with the board. His legal team dealt with it. But no change from our end.
How much does this hurt his potential stardom, considering he's a British fighter? You would think if you want to build a British fighter, he'd have to fight in Britain, as he has been doing. If he is to end up fighting over abroad, does that not hurt his potential stardom? Because we were talking about Conor Benn and pay-per-view type of stardom for him. So surely he should have to fight in this country.
Yeah, but I think longer term, this is me talking here, I think these things take a long time to get all the detail together on, right? And I do think longer term he'll box in the UK at some point. And I agree with your start. Like, we need to keep building him. He's built a huge name for himself. He's probably in the top 5 names of current UK fighters, I'd say, commercial and profile wise. So I believe he's still got a lot more he can do. He's still got a lot more to deliver, and I still think long term he could end up boxing in the UK for sure.
A lot of backlash on Twitter from that interview, none more so than Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn then responded saying that Chris tried to hold him for £1 million for blackmail for something. Can you shed any light as to what that is? Because that's a strong claim there from Conor towards Chris.
I'm not getting back involved in the family and the back and forth between the two of them. I'm sure that will be just the start of the two of them going back and forth. So we'll leave those two to that, because I'm compromised in the middle with these two guys. But that's a huge fight for the future, 100%.
That's fair enough. Have you spoke to Chris Eubank Jr. though since this interview?
No. I've spoken to him a few times about the situation, but not since this. No.
Frank, you're a man in the know who's got his ear on the ground. I wonder, there's a hold-up for Fury versus Usyk. What do you know?
I don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. It would be great if it did. Sometimes you have to, in this position, give something up that you don't always want to. And I get the feeling that stumbling blocks, obviously percentages, this, that, the other. But to make the biggest fight possible, the undisputed fight, you have to sometimes do what you maybe don't want to. If that means 2%, 5%, 10%, that unfortunately sometimes is what it takes. you hear different messages from different people about whether it's about money, whether it's about legacy, whether it's about becoming undisputed. Who knows? But it'll be a shame if it doesn't happen. But from what I'm hearing, I don't think it will.
Does that open the door quicker for Anthony Joshua to return to title contention, considering those two might not fight? Opens the door for Anthony to maybe try and make a negotiation with Fury or get another fight, a big fight?
Look, I think because of Anthony's commercial profile and presence, he can walk into any fight. Is the true reality. You know, he's amongst all the top names at heavyweight, and he's got the biggest profile out there out of all of them. So I don't think it changes anything really for him. He's always got those fights there when that's for the next steps. I think that means there's a lot of mandatories as well. You've got the WBA, IBF, WBO, obviously WBA, Daniel Dubois, Filip Hrgovic, who's with us, IBF mandatory, and WBO, Joe Joyce as well. So, we've seen this before. The longer it takes to get these kind of fights up and running, the more difficult it is to hold all those belts together. And the WBC have obviously got Wilder against Andy Ruiz, final eliminator for Tyson Fury. So, we have to see how things play out.
Bit of a free hit here, but I'm going to ask you the question nonetheless. If it was you guys kind of handling the negotiation for Fury, do you feel that you get that fight done?
It's different characters, isn't it? I mean, we've delivered the biggest fight. We delivered 2 fights against Alexander Usyk and AJ. So I think, yeah, of course we've got the ability to do it. And like I say, it'll be a shame if it doesn't happen. But it needs everyone, all parties involved, to be sensible and to want to work together to make it happen. And, AJ has always been about these fights and actually taking these fights. Sometimes it's not always followed through. But let's see, I don't want to get involved. I'd love it to happen. So I don't want to be seen to be negative in any way. But obviously we've dealt with these types of fights time and time again. So, yeah, I think it's a lot of characters involved as well, is the reality.